The system we have inherited is outdated in many ways and must be realigned to meet the needs of the 21st century and the fourth industrial revolution. Recognizing the urgent need for national dialogue on education and in the spirit of inclusive governance, I launched the National Education Consultative Forum on February 18th in Ho. I look forward to the recommendations which we will incorporate into our sectoral policy reforms. Mr. Speaker, even though Article 38 of the Constitution guarantees equitable access to education across Ghana, 30 years after the Free Compulsory Universal Basic Education FQ program was implemented, its full objectives remain unmet. To tackle this issue, government will redefine the scope of basic education and introduce the Zero to Hero initiative to enhance foundational literacy and numeracy. Additionally, ICT training will be integrated into early childhood education at the basic level. Over the next 3 years, it will be expanded to cover at least 300 classrooms, 30 centers of excellence, 1,000 teachers and district teacher support teams, focusing on the teaching of mathematics and literacy. This year, the Ministry of Education will fully implement a new curriculum for senior high technical schools and STEM schools, introduce a standardized national sign language for hearing impaired learners from kindergarten to SHS, and review the kindergarten and primary school curriculums. To increase access to quality education, we will scale up our social intervention programs like the capitation grants, the feeding grants for special schools, and the government's BECE registration initiative. Mr. Speaker, to promote inclusion and equity, the government will enhance and resource the Islamic Education Unit to recruit more Islamic and Arabic tutors for English-Arabic schools. We will establish STEM and TVET schools in underserved and peri-urban communities. We will provide scholarships to brilliant but needy students in deprived communities, especially for study in law, medicine, and engineering. We will support Islamic colleges of education with infrastructure and logistics, and will enroll youth in Zongo and deprived urban communities in the National Apprentice Program and offer free technical and vocational training. Mr. Speaker, it is important to continue to retain and motivate our teachers in all schools, especially in the rural areas. Government will begin plans for the implementation of the 20% allowance for teachers who agree to serve in rural schools. District assemblies are going to be involved in this scheme to ensure that the teachers are present and teaching in the schools that are selected. This scheme will reward such teachers for their sacrifices and ensure quality education nationwide, not only in urban centers. Mr. Speaker, as part of our Teacher Dabre initiative, the construction of teacher accommodation units to improve welfare and attract teachers to rural areas will commence this year. Mr. Speaker, no new school will be built in this country without teachers' accommodation. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, once again for emphasis and for the record, I, John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, will not cancel the free SHS program. I will not cancel the free SHS program. I am determined to make it better by improving its implementation. And also, for the record, students who have benefited from the free SHS since its inception are about 3.4 million. The figure of 5.1 million beneficiaries, as put out by the previous administration, was an exaggerated and false narrative calculated to achieve political credit. Mr. Speaker, While the free SHS program has improved access, the implementation of the program leaves much to be desired. The outcomes of the ongoing National Education Forum will guide our reform efforts in this sector. Mr. Speaker, in line with our promise, the Minister for Education has announced the restoration of Parent-Teacher Associations, PTAs, in the running of schools. It is important for parents and communities to participate in the administration of their schools. The Ministry of Education and GES will, however, ensure that PTAs do not impose unbearable financial burden on parents and students who cannot afford them. Mr. Speaker, the double track system remains a challenge, and we are committed to eliminating it by accelerating school infrastructure expansion and completing stalled educational projects. To fund this, the Education and Finance Ministries are working to uncap the GET fund so that we can accelerate projects in secondary schools. As promised, we have begun improving secondary school feeding, and the children are getting better quality food as I address you. Mr. Speaker, efforts to decentralize school feeding and food management include strengthening procurement and store management records capacity. Once completed, food procurement and management will be fully handed over to the secondary schools to do their own food procurement. Mr. Speaker, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics are central to national development, STEM. We will therefore expand STEM programs at all levels to equip all students for the global economy. We don't believe in building single standalone STEM schools. We believe that STEM must be part of the curriculum of every secondary school. Mr. Speaker, regional TVET centers of excellence will be established to provide practical skills. Every region will get a TVET center of excellence to expand technical and vocational education training. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, Ghana has consistently missed its gross tertiary enrollment targets with a rate below 22%, far from the 40% goal that has been set by 2030. Despite over 460,000 secondary graduates coming out annually, 55% qualify for tertiary education, and only 35%, 161,000 of the 460,000 enroll in tertiary education, leaving over 300,000 without access. To address this, government is introducing a no-fee stress policy to eliminate tertiary admission fees, which currently serve as a barrier to higher education for some students. This will be supported by an enhanced student loan scheme, which is called the Student Loan Plus. The no-fee policy will also cover all persons with disabilities. And for emphasis, persons with disabilities will pay no fees for tertiary education throughout their study. And so PWDs who gain admission to tertiary institutions will pay no fees. Additionally, TVET enrollment will be increased from 11% to 20% to boost employment. Mr. Speaker, rising enrollment has strained university infrastructure, causing overcrowding and inadequate accommodation. We are determined to expand access, improve quality, and align tertiary education with national goals, particularly in STEM. Feasibility studies for new public universities or campuses of existing universities to be established in the 6 new regions will commence this year. Seed funding for these projects will come from the GET Fund in order to enhance access. Government will this year engage with the existing public universities to identify suitable sites on their campuses, acquired lands, for the implementation of the private sector participation in the provision of hostels project. This is a partnership between government, the universities, and private investors to expand hostel capacity on their campuses. This will allow more students to be accommodated on the campuses to allow for a better learning environment.